angle of elevation is formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight to a point above the line, and an angle of depression is the angle formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight below the line. So make sure you know which one is which, and there's some examples there and another picture. And then the first few questions is just saying whether it's angle of elevation or angle of depression. Then next we're going to solve problems using this. So this is where the fun comes in. There's an example here where we're going to be using trig to do these, sine, cosine, and tangent. It's really very, very similar to the 8.3 assignment where you solved right triangles, except that there's word problems involved, and you have to know what angle you're given if they tell you the angle of depression or the angle of depression is used. For example, in this example here, it says that the angle of elevation is 41, so that would be this angle down here. If they tell you that it's an angle of depression, then they say that the angle of depression is 7, which is up here, but then they drew the triangle the other way. The angle of depression equals the angle of elevation. So if they tell you that this up here is 7 degrees, but you need to find x, then you also know that this is 7 degrees. And you can find that with alternate interior angles, or you can just remember that the angle of depression will equal the angle of elevation. All right, so in this one, then you would solve using trig again. So for your assignment, for the rest of your assignment, after you label which ones are which for 1 through 4, you have to pick at least 6 of the problems, 5 through 13, to do. You can do all for bonus points. And then there is problem 14 and 15 after that, so don't skip those. So you get to pick 6 of them to do, so there'll be some you won't have to do. So you might want to read through them and decide which ones you want to do. Some of them have pictures already drawn, like in 5 and 6, and some of them don't. If there is no picture, then you'll want to draw a picture. You don't have to put your picture on your worksheet, but you'll want to draw it at least on your own paper so that you are able to figure out what goes where. So I'm going to start with number 6 because there's no angle in my triangle. It says Melanie, that's her up here, she is snorkeling and she sees a giant squid on the ocean floor, and that moved. My squid is supposed to be covering up that turtle. And now it won't cover it up. Here we go. Now Melanie sees a giant squid on the ocean floor at an angle of depression of 38 degrees. She is 14 feet above the ocean floor. How far from the giant squid is she? So she is at an angle, this is the angle of depression is 38. That's not yet in the triangle, so I need to add that measure to the triangle. Remember, we just said that the angle of depression will equal the angle of elevation. So I can put a 38 in my triangle, 38 degrees down there. And we're looking for this distance, x, between Melanie and the giant squid. So we're going to use some trigonometry in order to do this. So let's see. We have an angle measure, and we have a side opposite that angle, and we're looking for the hypotenuse. So you think to yourself, is it sine, cosine, or tangent that would be the most helpful here? Well, sine of an angle is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. That sounds pretty good. Cosine is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse, but I don't know either of those sides. And tangent is equal to the opposite over the adjacent. I'd use tangent if I wanted this distance, but I want the hypotenuse's length, so I will use sine. So you write that the sine of 38 is equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse. And then we have to solve this. So to solve this, we are going to multiply both sides by x to start with, because right now x is in the denominator and I can't solve for it if it's in the denominator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by x. So now I have x times the sine of 38 is equal to 14. And then I need to solve for x, so I don't want to be multiplying by the sine of 38, so I'm going to do the opposite, which is to divide by the sine of 38. and then the sine of 38 cancels on the left side, and I'm left with my answer of x equals, now you get your calculator out and type in 14 divided by, I'm going to use parentheses, the sine of 38. Now your calculator, you might do it in slightly different order. And then I hit the equal sign. Don't forget to hit the equal sign. And I get 22.74. I'll round it to 22.74. And then it says round to the nearest foot. So that's about 23 feet. And that answer makes sense because the hypotenuse is the longest side. And this was 14, so it has to be longer than that. So that seems to make some sense. So let's do another problem that doesn't have a picture yet. Number 7, 8, 9, none of those have pictures. Let's do number 8, or at least we'll set the picture up for it. I'm going to give myself a little more room here. So Tucker is looking out a 17-foot high window. That's pretty tall. Pretend that's a straight line, and he sees 2 deer. Okay, so he's up here. And he sees the 2 deer. Should I put 2 deer in here? Those are their antlers. You obviously don't have to do that. The angle of depression to the deer is 26. So angle of depression is this part right here, 26. What is the horizontal distance from Tucker to the deer? So we're looking for this distance from here to here, not the hypotenuse. I'm going to call this H. No, I'll call it Y. I don't want it to be confused with hypotenuse. So if this is 26 from the horizontal from here to here, that's the angle of depression, then the angle of elevation is also 26. And then you have to figure out, oh, we need more information. We need to put on this 17 here. So we have a right triangle. We know that this angle down here is 26. We know that its height is 17, or the side opposite the angle that we're given. So you have to decide whether to use sine, cosine, or tangent. Now, let me give this a letter, even though I don't need that side. If I was using the sine of 26, that would be equal to opposite over hypotenuse. That would not work because I don't need A. If I did the cosine of 26, cosine is equal to the adjacent side, well, I do need that side, over the hypotenuse, but I don't know that side, so that's not going to work. If I did the tangent of 26, that would give me the opposite side over the adjacent side. That looks like my best bet because I know the opposite side is 17, and I don't know the adjacent side, but that's what I'm trying to find, so that's the only unknown. So use the tangent of 26 in order to answer this question. All right, let's look at, you'll have to finish that one. Let's look at one more. How about this one with the Ferris wheel? Okay, so on the Ferris wheel, it says Micah is sitting at top of a 200-foot Ferris wheel. So he's up here. That's my Ferris wheel. Micah's up there, and he's looking down at his brother Coda on the ground. And the angle of depression to Coda is 80 degrees. So if you go like this, the 80 degrees is in here. So that means that this is also 80 degrees. This is obviously not drawn to scale. How far from Coda, how far is Coda from the base of the Ferris wheel? So we're looking for this amount from here to here. We know that this height here is 200. It's a right triangle. So then again, you need to figure out if you can use sine, cosine, or tangent to answer this question. Let me just go through and see if there's any other type of problems that you need to worry about. And then remember, you only have to pick 6 of those to do. 14 you have to do, everybody has to do. It says make up your own angle of elevation or angle of depression story problem. Draw a picture if you can and solve your problem. Feel free to use your family members' names like I did. I've got my niece and nephew and my sister-in-law and my kids and all kinds of people in there. And then this last question, is a little bit tricky, so give this one a try, but you'll have to do this in multiple steps. It says from the top of a canyon, the angle of depression to the far side of the river is 58 degrees, so that's this one right here. The angle of depression to the near side, so that's this one here, is 74. The depth of the canyon, that's the height here, is 191. What is the width of the river at the bottom of the canyon? So they're looking for this. So you're going to first find from here to here, and then you can find from here to here using the other right triangle, and then you can subtract the amounts. So you've got a, whoa, I must have hit a button on my pen. You've got the skinny right triangle is 191, and this angle here would be 74. And you can use that to find this amount, this width from here to here. And then the other right triangle with the wider is also 191. And the angle in here is 58. So you can use that to find like y. And then you can take the y minus the x to find what the width of just the river is. So that's how you'll do that problem. All right, if you get stuck, please let me know. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to help you out. Thanks a lot and have a wonderful day.